So welcome. My name again is Carrie Fagan. I'm the director of Northwestern's OLLI program. You are at Taste of OLLI, which is for primarily those who are interested in the program but don't quite know yet what it's all about and would like to learn more. And so I'm going to give you an idea of what OLLI is and what it can mean to you personally. We are fortunate today to have a couple of members who have joined us in this session, people who are already a part of OLLI, who can give you a little bit of their personal story and add a little more than even I can add in today's session. This was originally scheduled as a webinar, but I've brought you all into the same room so that we can hear one another and ask questions openly. If you'd like to share to start your video, you may, but you're not obligated to do so. If everyone can be on mute until you have a question to ask, and then unmute yourselves and wave your hand at me because I can see everybody on the screen. You can be fancy and use the raise hand feature if you want to do that. If you don't know how to do that, it's no big deal. Just wave me down. I should be able to see you. Again, assuming your video is on. If it's not on, you can interrupt me or use that raise hand feature, which is in your Zoom features. So I know we have some people that are brand new to Zoom, also brand new to OLLI, which is part of why you're here. So let me just jump in a little bit and tell you a little bit about OLLI and why I'm excited that you're here today. Normally, if we were on campus and not in the middle of a pandemic, we would be having you at our facilities on campus. There'd be purple walls because we're all, Northwestern fans who wear our purple and are proud of that, and fellow Wildcats, and we'd have snacks and cookies and drinks. And I'm really sorry I'm not able to do that for you today. But we will have opportunity to be back on campus, and hopefully you'll all join us. And so I'm good for my promise of cookies at some point. So hold me to that. There's actually no one more excited to get back on campus than myself. I joined the OLLI organization as the new director just about 8 months ago, right at the height of the beginning of the pandemic. So I've not met anybody in person yet. So the two-dimensional form that you're all in right now is how I've seen all of our OLLI members up to this point. And Hillman's smiling there because he's one of our existing members, and he and I haven't met each other yet, but we're going to. When it is safe to do so, we will be back on campus. But one thing I can tell you is that while I haven't been here long, I fully believe in the strength of this program and the warmth of this community. And I hope you'll be as impressed in your introduction to OLLI as I have been in my first few months here. So we're going to talk about the following things. What is OLLI? What is OSHER, which is the O in OLLI? What types of programs we offer? What it means to be a peer-led organization? What we offer beyond study groups, or what you might think of as classes. And then I'm going to show you some key places in our website and some ways to register it should you choose to be a part of our OLLI family. So that's our agenda for today. Before I jump in, anybody have any questions about the format, what we're accomplishing, logistics of our meeting itself before we jump into content? You're either already all asleep or you're good. So this is good. So let's talk about what is OLLI. So we've been in existence since 1987 as a program of Northwestern University. We were formerly known as the Institute of Learning in Retirement. So it's something that may sound familiar to you. We have 2 Northwestern campuses where we are represented. One is our downtown campus near Streeterville, and the other is at our main Northwestern campus in Evanston. Northwestern, as you may know, has a 3rd campus in Qatar. We don't have representation there because that's quite a long commute. So we have representation in the 2 other campuses. However, when you join the OLLI Northwestern program, you do not join a specific campus, you join Northwestern OLLI. So if you wanted to participate in classes in Evanston, you could, and in Chicago, and vice versa. Right now, we are OLLI anywhere. Everything we do is on Zoom at this moment until it's safe to return to campus. But when we do go back to campus, you can participate in either or both locations. We have about 12 to 1,500 students enrolled, depending on the time of year or the year. And we were created, OLLI was created by a philanthropist named Bernard Osher. That's again the O in OLLI, Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. Mr. Osher is a philanthropist from Maine. He is the best possible champion of lifelong learning you can imagine. He has dedicated his life to this, and he's currently 93. So by show of hands, for those that are on video, how many of you know how to play piano? Jenny kind of knows how to play piano. Okay, so we probably all know enough that it's not easy. So Mr. Osher taught himself how to play piano at age 83. So lifelong learning is kind of the essence of who he is, and he has taken his finances and put it towards the Osher lifelong learning programs across the country, of which there are 24 other programs just like ours across the country that are sponsored by Mr. Osher. The membership across the country for Osher programs is about 155,000. And individual programs vary in their size from 500 to even 13,000 to a really large organization in Florida. But all of the Osher programs are different. Some are very lecture-based, some are travel-based, some are peer-led like we are, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. Some are hybrid, but they're all hosted by institutions like a Northwestern. So they all have their own pricing structures, their own local rules and regulations on signing up. And, you know, some of our members actually participate in multiple OLLI programs, which we're happy that they do and encourage that. So, you know, when we're on ground, some people live here part of the year and live in Florida part of the year. And so they participate in both places. Central to all of these Osher programs, the 124 across the country, is something called the NRC, or the National Resource Center. And that is an organization that Mr. Osher put in place that helps provide all of us with information about what's happening in adult learning, what's happening in, what are best practices that are happening in all the programs across the country. And he connects us as directors with one another so we can learn from one another and build the best possible programs. The NRC is actually located at Northwestern University, so we get the direct benefit of having a direct line to that program, and are very appreciative of that opportunity. So the only criteria to be an Osher program and be a part of their foundation is that we offer learning programs for senior adults. That's it. And that we do it without prerequisites, without tests, without grades. This is learning for the sheer enjoyment of learning for learning's sake. So nobody's going to ask you to take a test. Nobody's going to ask you for your certificate at the end. This is all just because we love to learn. So the benefit that I'm really happy about with all of this is that we are tied to Northwestern University, which is, you know, kind of an okay school, right? There's some prestige there, which is really tremendous. And we have access to the resources that are a part of Northwestern. So not only do they support us with in-kind services like space and access to the library and their marketing and finance, but we get to tap into the resources of the university. Think of the professors and the those that are finishing their PhDs and all of the connections and resources that they have, and we often tap that. I'm actually, and me and the staff that I have, we are employees of Northwestern University. And we communicate regularly with the School of Professional Studies, which is what the school that we're a part of, but also with schools like the communication schools and the engineering schools, because they have experts that we can tap. So let's talk about the types of programs that you might find at the Northwestern OLLI program. You're going to see that we mirror many of the disciplines offered at Northwestern University. So there's current affairs, literature, science, technology, history, creative arts, all the things that you would expect to see at a large university. We mirror that. We offer 4 terms in an academic year: fall, winter, spring, summer. Fall and spring are our longer terms. Those are 14 weeks. Summer and winter are our shorter terms, and they are 4 weeks. During our longer terms, fall and spring, we offer about 100 study groups. So there's lots to choose from. In our shorter terms, we offer about 50 study groups, because a lot of people would, under normal circumstances, would be traveling and doing the fun things that we would normally have opportunity to do. Each of our study groups meets once a week for 2 hours. And if it weren't a pandemic, they would meet in one of those 2 locations we talked about, but now we're meeting on Zoom. Okay. I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about why lifelong learning is important. So just as you exercise your body, when you exercise your brain, that's important too, right? There are tons of studies out there that show that when people are actively engaged mentally, they're more physically and emotionally healthy. So we know this is true, and as a result, there are a ton of opportunities out there for lifelong learning in Chicago and beyond. What is our strength and what distinguishes us from other lifelong learning programs is this idea of being peer-led. So what does it mean to be peer-led? Members actually come up with the ideas for our study groups or classes, as you may want to refer to them. Members actually come up with those ideas, not me sitting in my office. It's our members. And those ideas are then reviewed and vetted by a group of other members who have volunteered to be a part of that process. And then members are the ones who actually put together the study group, and members fully participate in the discussion and dialogue during those study groups. So think about your childhood when you sat in a chair, shoulder to shoulder with the person next to you, and you all faced forward, and your teacher or professor spoke at you. That is not what we do at Northwestern OLLI. We have, picture yourself more in a circle where you're not a passive learner, but you're actively engaged in conversation with others who have incredible backgrounds and interests and perspectives that they bring to the conversation. This is one of the reasons that we call them study groups and not classes, because class, you think of that shoulder to shoulder kind of experience. In a study group, we're all participating. So our membership of 12 to 1,500 people is filled with diverse backgrounds, diverse careers, experiences, and each member brings that unique experience and background and careers and talents and perspectives to the study group. So we get these really rich and meaningful discussions. Different than what you're going to experience with many other lifelong learning experiences, including most OSHA OLLI programs across the country. We're one of only about 3 that are a peer-led model. And throughout, our study group coordinators are making sure conversations are lively, engaged, and respectful, because we're going to bring out those differing opinions together. It's really, we don't always agree, but it makes for such really respectful and interesting and meaningful discussion. Again, no grades, no tests, just learning for the joy of learning. So I'm going to stop for a minute and ask Gordon or Hillman to jump in, because this is one of those where it's hard to really wrap your head around this until you've experienced it. And maybe one of them can speak to what it's like to be in a peer-led discussion. Gordon?
Okay, I will. Hillman, it's wonderful to see you again. I haven't seen you for a year.
Good to see you, Gordon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
So this is one of the great things about the peer-led is that so Hillman's on the Evanston campus, as am I, and so we would. I don't think I've ever been in a class with you, but I knew Hillman professionally, in Chicago, or certainly knew of him. Hillman was quite famous, is in the healthcare field, and but we would run into each other at OLLI, and we would have conversations around the coffee urn. And so that's one of the nice things about that's so important. There are other programs that I know of where you go and hear lectures. So you file in, you listen to the lecture. If it's good, you listen to it. If it's not, you fall asleep, you leave, and maybe you smile at some people, or maybe you see somebody you know, and that's it. Here, you really get to know people. You really get to know their personality and get to enjoy them. And on that note, it even happens on Zoom. We really were very worried about, losing the classroom setting. So, like I haven't seen Hillman for a year until this event. So you don't have those chance encounters in the hallway at OLLI. But on the Zoom, it works really very nicely. And in I'll tell you about two of my classes that you get to know new people, and we'll dial in early before the class, and so we'll talk and chat and kid each other and share stories and all of that. So the community still happens. Okay, on the classes, this is the wonderful thing about it. I mean, it really is like going to college again. But the fact is, you can find what you want. You can create the class that you want to study. If you don't find it, the problem is, I mean, I usually am involved in creating classes. The problem is there are so many good classes out there that when the semester starts, I'm just overwhelmed. I've got a dozen choices that I want, and you can only really handle 3 or 4 at the most. 3 at the most. Two is the most that I find I can handle. And so, but in setting up the classes, they're usually built around a book that someone has found, or they're built around a magazine, or if they might be built around works of art, or it could be around movies, if you're into movies, documentary movies, or my wife is going to one which is now looking at musicals. So, and all of this different subject matters. So in the past, I mean, I love history. That's really kind of my thing. So the books that really got me, I led one class in which we read Francis Fukuyama, The Origins of Social Order and Political Decay. It took us 2 semesters to get through that. In another, we went back and studied Spinoza, one of the great philosophers of all time. And but currently, I'm involved in 2 classes, a coordinator, and I'll tell you about that a little bit. His coordinator is one is The Economist. So we are now into our 24th semester. So every week we gather and we read The Economist, and we get the British view of what's going on in the world. And it's really very interesting. I mean, the British kind of the Economist take is the first question is well, how's the empire going? And secondly are they living up to the ideas of the Enlightenment and British democracy? That's kind of the measuring stick that everything's looked at. And we have great discussions. And as Carrie said, we had people of all persuasions, political persuasions. And I've never, in all those 24 semesters, ever seen an untoward incident where someone has gone out of control and been disrespectful. People are very thoughtful in this eclectic group that we have. And then the other question, the other course that I have right now, which could really be serious, is one of my companions who is Jewish. So I was raised Protestant and he was Jewish. He came to me and he says, Gordon, he's a historian. I want to know about the Reformation. I don't know much about it. So we've been studying the Reformation this semester. And the class is 1/3 Jewish, 1/3 Protestant, and 1/3 Catholic. And we essentially have been studying 150 years of religious war where people were willing to kill each other over, the definition of the Eucharist. But it's been a really very peaceful and a very enlightening discussion. So that's, that's kind of one thought. And then there are other activities that OLLI sponsors, which Carrie will talk about, where we have other ways of socializing besides class, but really kind of the core of it is the discussions. And I must say, the people who come to these discussions, first of all, they are very well educated, extremely successful, many, all successful, extremely successful, and they're serious students. They actually read the materials, they actually study them, they actually go out and do additional research. And so these are learned discussions of the caliber of a seminar that you would probably find at graduate school level. You don't have the professor there who can kind of summarize it for you, but certainly in that which people bring to the class, these are very serious discussions. It's just not people shooting off their their ideas. So I love it. It's wonderful.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Gordon.
Carrie.
I appreciate it. That's good to hear your personal perspective. Hillman, do you want to add anything from a personal perspective about what it's like to be in a peer-led model?
Well, sure. I want to say that I've been in the OLLI for 5 years. And during that period, I don't think there's a semester that passed that I wasn't enrolled in less than 2 or 3 courses at a time. I have participated in science and writing and history. And, there's a Peter principle that says, one advances to his level of incompetence. So with Gordon and some of the support of others, I was enticed to become a co-coordinator. That opened up all kinds of new dimensions for me. One is the opportunity to work with some colleagues in creating a couple of other courses, and I'm now coordinating a creative writing course, coordinating history course. I'm participating in some memoir type of reading courses. But anyway, it is a contagion that once you're in it, I haven't found I've met anybody that says, "Oh, I used to be in that program and I dropped out." I haven't found any dropouts.
That's right.
There's 14 or 1,500 of us, I'm told, in Chicago and Evanston. And there's no graduation. I probably would have reached that point if there were. So lots of people have been in this program since 2001 and 2002, and they would not wake up a morning or an afternoon without continuing their participation. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. The one thing about the through Zoom, I was able to reach not only nationally, but internationally. I had someone in a course in the last semester who participated from London, a couple of people from Maine, a couple of people from the Carolinas. And we were just and able to touch each other in almost every way except physically. So that's a great dimension of Zoom, although we got there by the back door. But I look forward to seeing some of you personally when that day comes. But meanwhile, I don't feel like we're sacrificing much in terms of the peer relationship and the cordiality of meeting new people and learning your backgrounds and experiences. And I thoroughly enjoy it. So welcome to OLLI.
So let me jump back into our agenda here. We've had some good conversation and questions. I appreciate that. Hillman and Gordon mentioned some things that I'm going to dive into a little bit deeper. They talked about the number of study groups that they take. You can enroll in anywhere from 1 to 3 study groups per session. The average is 2, but there's some eager beavers that like to take 3. However you want to engage, there is something for everyone. And people come to OLLI for lots of different reasons. I've even heard some of you talking about different reasons already. Jenny talking about wanting to meet some people, which is certainly a motivating factor for many people. There's the person that says, you know, I was retired for a week and my wife kicked me out of the house because I was driving her crazy and I needed something for myself. There are people who have always been in an educational setting, and so it's very natural for them to come back to this type of learning. There are people who say things like, I've worked my whole career taking insufferable workplace training classes, and now I want to learn what I want to learn. The physics person who wants to take Shakespeare, or we have a retired judge who likes film, French films. We have a pediatrician who's all into baseball. You can be totally divorced from what you experienced in your career if you want, and do what you love to do. There are people who come to OLLI just for the socialization. And Hillman and Gordon talked about that. Because of our peer-led model, especially, the community we have here is tremendous. You will meet and engage and come to know and love so many more people. And right now, I think that's especially important in the world we're living in today. So people come for that reason. Some people come only for the learning and not the socialization, and that's fine too. Whatever your reason, you will find individuals here that share your interest in lifelong learning, and we welcome all of you. So Gordon mentioned a little bit about beyond the study groups, and I want to speak to that just a little bit. With a membership, you get a certain number of study groups, as I said, 1 to 3, depending on the level of membership you buy per semester. But you also have access for free to a number of noontime lectures that we offer, in which we invite community leaders, university experts, other local experts, to talk about specific issues that are going to either enrich our academic view, or might deal with diversity and inclusion. They might be an emerging scholars program. I'll give you an example of that. So because we have this great connection with Northwestern, we can tap those who are completing their PhD. They're maybe in their final phases, and they come and speak to our OLLI membership about their work. And it can be anywhere, anything from poetry to medicine and everything in between. And it's really powerful to hear these people who are such the experts in a particular topic and so passionate about their work speak to that topic. From a diversity and inclusion standpoint, we recently had someone from what's called the Folded Maps Project. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but she's a photographic artist that was taking pictures of houses in Chicago's South Side that share an address with houses in the North Side. So on the same street, if you fold a map, those houses would actually meet because they share an address just from South Side to North Side. So she was taking photos of those houses, and then it became a really interesting discussion about diversity and inclusion by looking at the visual differences in those houses. We had that artist come and speak to us. We recently had a special event that was a 2-hour event around the performing arts. You know, something many of us are missing right now is sitting in a theater with others who, you know, we want to stand up and applaud at the end. So we tried to mimic that a little bit with OLLI, and we had a performance by some young up and coming musicians. And we also had the Chris Jones, who's the chief theater critic from the Chicago Tribune, serve as a moderator in discussing the impacts of the pandemic on the performing arts, and the panelists included people like the president of the CSO and the Writers Guild and other organizations in that environment. Powerful, moving, wonderful, one of our best performances. So I'm giving you an idea of all the other things that you will have free access to as a part of your membership. There's information sessions, there's orientations, there's technology training, there's holiday parties. When we're on campus, we're coming together for celebrations. And unless there's a direct ticket fee, like sometimes we'll go to Ravinia and then there's a ticket fee, but unless there's a ticket fee for something of that nature, it's all free to you as a part of your membership. Other benefits that you receive, if you purchase a full year membership, and we'll talk later about how to do that and when to do that, you get a wild card, which essentially is your student ID. And then you can go into your local store and ask for student discounts, and they say, you're not a student. And you say, well, yes, I am. And you pull out your card, and can be in a really proud moment where you show that you are truly a Northwestern Wildcat student, and get discounts as a result of that at local stores. The wild card also allows you to ride the shuttle, the student shuttle from Evanston campus to the Chicago campus and back. You have access to our Northwestern Library, which only includes about 4 million items. If you guys get through all of that, then you get a medal or something. But right now we have access to books that can be shipped to our homes. So the stacks aren't open because of the pandemic, but we're still finding ways to access the library. So a ton of benefits beyond just the study groups. I want to mention something else that Hillman mentioned regarding technology. We are going to get back to campus when it's safe to do so, but we are going to continue to utilize some virtual experiences because we've learned things and we found some unexpected benefits. So, your smiling faces are so clear on the screen to me now. Your voices are clear to me. And so that's something that isn't always as polished in a classroom. So people are hearing each other better, seeing each other better. And that's a benefit of virtual experiences. We've had people really use the chat feature effectively in these study groups where they can make a comment without disrupting the whole flow of the meeting. So we're using chat feature. There's some real time savers involved, right? Kareet is not having to commute from a further suburb of Chicago. He can just, walk into his office and turn on his computer, and there's no travel time associated. We are extending our reach. We have people who are participating who maybe have some physical restrictions or are caring for someone with physical restrictions, and getting to campus might be more difficult, but experiencing it in this virtual environment is a win. And we're making new connections from people who are outside Chicago or from different campuses, as Gordon and Hillman have talked about. So there are really some tremendous benefits that we are going to capitalize upon now and when we are back on campus. And I'm going to get to some of the logistics of where to find information and how to register and some other questions that I think are on your mind. Okay, can everybody see my Google screen here? So if you're looking for the OLLI website, just simply type Northwestern OLLI, and it will show up as the first item in your search feature. And when you click that, there's a couple places I'm going to take you just so you know where to get to what you need. I'm going to get you guys out of the way here. Okay, so the first place I want to take you is to news. This is your one action item today. If you click news, there's this button here that says click to subscribe. All of our communication is through the OLLI weekly e-newsletter. Comes out on Sunday mornings. We try not to send a gazillion emails in other ways. So everything you want to know about OLLI, including when the catalog becomes available, when registration opens, when these special events are offered, all comes through this weekly e-newsletter. So if you have not yet subscribed, please do so. That's our best way to communicate. The next place that I'm going to take you is to study groups. And here is down at the bottom, you can look at examples of all of our past catalogs if you're trying to get an idea of the kinds of things that we offer. And so I'm going to take you to one of them as an example. This is a catalog. I just jumped to the at a glance so you can get a feel for the types of classes that we offer and the days and times that we offer. So this is showing Monday. We have classes that start at 9:45 and at 1:15. Sometimes there will be a bonus group at a noontime in addition to these noontime lectures that I mentioned. So this gives you an idea of how many are on Mondays. There's usually a big chunk on Tuesdays, a bigger chunk because it's continued, big chunk on Wednesdays, Thursday offerings, and then we normally have a couple on Fridays. That may change as we go back to campus. We may have to utilize more Friday options, but a lot of our classes are Monday through Thursday. Again, always that morning of 9:45 and the afternoon of 1:15. And I'll just let this sit here for a minute and let you read the titles. You'll see that it's everything from creative arts, civic engagement, contemporary issues, history, literature, science, technology, medicine, health, writing, and the famous other. But a lot of options here. In the catalogs, you're also going to find the detailed descriptions of each study group, which will give you an idea of who the coordinators are, whether it's a full 14 weeks. Sometimes in our 14-week semesters, we might offer a shorter 7-week study group, and then you could take 2 7 weeks to equal a 14-week. But this just gives you some example of what our catalogs look like. As I said, at your leisure, you can go here and look at all of the example catalogs from the past. But I'll tell you when we close here what the dates are for when our next catalog becomes available. Okay, so the next place I'm going to take you from the OLLI website is membership. Here, if you scroll down to membership options, there are several different membership types. This reflects all of the options should you purchase membership at the beginning of our academic year. So our academic year begins in the fall. Since you're thinking about spring membership, all of the ones that apply to you are these half academic year memberships, because we're only left with the second half of our academic year right now. So within the half academic year, there is such thing as a prime membership, a standard membership, and a basic membership. And the difference between those is how many study groups you can take. So a prime membership allows you 3 study groups. A standard is 2, and a basic is 1. And what it means when you buy a half-year membership is that, for example, in Prime, you can take 3 study groups in the spring and 3 study groups in our short 4-week summer session. Okay, for a total of 6. If you went standard, you'd have a total of 4, 2 in the spring, 2 in the summer. If you went with basic, you'd have a total of 2, 1 in the spring and 1 in the summer. There is another option, and that is to do a trial membership. This is like, hey, I'm not really sure. Carrie hasn't convinced me. Hillman wasn't a great salesman, you know. So I'm just not quite sure yet. You can buy this one time. It's only for new members, but it gives you the opportunity to take just one study group in the spring, one in the summer, and it's kind of a test to say, I'm not really sure yet, but let me test it out. Okay. Okay, so the last place I'm going to take you here is, so this is the OLLI website. Okay. Now I'm going to take you to the place that you would register for study groups. This is a different website. It's our registration website. You would get there by typing northwesternolli.augustsoft, which is the name of the vendor that provides us the .net. There's lots of places to get here through the website that we were just on. You know, here, I'll go back there for a moment. If you click registration, it's thinking, hold on. My internet connection is a little slow for a minute. Okay, so if you click registration, there is a link right here at the bottom. So if you forget this string, you can click it from our website. So once you're here, you're going to see this log in or create an account. It will ask you, if you click this, create a new profile is how all of you will enter. I can't do that because I'm already in, but it'll just ask you your name and an email address, and to set up a username and password, please write that down somewhere and remember it so that you can get back in and register each time we have new study groups that are available. But after you've done that, when you enter the actual site, there will be this left-hand menu that allows you to search all of our study groups by the day of the week or by a particular subject area. And then it will list the events that are outside of the study groups. So I'm going to show you each of those things in a little more detail. So let's look at the classes on Monday. Now, because we're kind of between semesters right now, it's going to look a little weird, but normally you would see, here's all the classes that are available on Monday. And it would have next to it here, instead of closed, it would say add to cart or add to waiting list if the class is already full. And I will tell you, some of our study groups do fill very quickly, and that's okay. And try to come to the table with many options. If you're stuck on just the one class, open your mind to your second, third, fourth, fifth choice. As Gordon said, usually there's dozens of things you might want to take. And that fourth choice might be a really pleasant surprise, mostly because of the people that you meet in addition to the content. So normally you'll see add to wait list or add to cart. I encourage people to get something in their cart. So in case the wait list doesn't open, they are in a study group. And then once you've added it to your cart, you'll be able to check out up here. Okay, so this is by day. You can do the same thing by subject, but that's the way to search study groups that are available. You can also search all of our events, and Constance mentioned one of these recently. So for those people that are members already, and in this term, here are some of those special events that we talked about. We're going to talk about the curriculum in Illinois public schools and how African-American history is poorly represented. We've got we do something called Chat About It, which is strictly social. People just get together and talk with one another and try to fill that void we have where we would pass each other in the hallway. This is just that coffee urn that Gordon was talking about before. This is replacing that. And we have prompters. This time we're going to show and tell. Pick an item from your home, or introduce your spouse that's with you, or a pet, or just some sort of show and tell. Then we've got a diversity and inclusion piece that speaks to the Jim Crow laws and how that is impacting us yet today. We've got something, a partnership that I've established with a local high school, and teens spend their time with us, and they'll help us with anything from how to set up your Facebook page and to how to post an Instagram account. They're incredible, they're patient, they're wonderful, and they'll just come and teach us for an hour. So those are some examples of these events that you have access to. So events are available to anyone who has a membership.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons that if you don't get your first choice study group, you're still getting all these tremendous other events. And people are like, yeah, I may not even take a study group this semester because I'm getting all of this as well. And if, let's say you traditionally go to the Chicago campus because you're closest to that, and this particular event is offered by the Chicago Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and so it's located on the Chicago campus, you can either go to the Chicago campus and watch it and be a part of it, or we always stream it to the Evanston campus. You can go to the Evanston campus and see it in that way. Again, with this whole new Zoom technology, we might come up with even a third option that you can sit in your living room and watch it. So we'll see how that happens. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see all your smiling faces again. Any other questions about what we've discussed so far before I give you some dates?
Hey, can I just ask, are the events every week or just hit or miss, or how often do those come up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we traditionally have about, it's hit or miss, but it comes out to about once a week. You'll see something that is hitting the OLLI calendar. Again, it's been a little bizarre because of how we're doing it virtually, but we've found even more opportunities to do things in this way. Those holiday parties are probably the hardest things for us to mimic in this virtual environment, but I'm going to say about once a week when we're on ground.
I was going to ask, is there any consideration being given, even though a class is in person, if someone can't attend, they could do it through Zoom and still participate?
Yes, so I don't know what that looks like yet because we're still in the middle of the pandemic, but once we're back on campus, I have some vision for some creative ways to take what we're doing now and embed it creatively into our on-campus model as well. PJ, you have your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, this is somewhat granular, but if you were on a waiting list for a class, but signed up anyway for one in case you didn't get in on the waiting list, could you then substitute?
Absolutely. That's why we encourage people to get into a class of some sort, because if their waiting list becomes open, then we would contact you and say, hey, one of the classes you're on a waiting list for has become available. Do you want to switch? So we would always ask that question. We will make the catalog available. And that will, again, come through that email, the newsletter. So making sure that you're signed up for the newsletter is a key component. And you will be able to see that catalog through the email. We'll attach it as a PDF, but you'll also be able to see it on that website that I showed you, so you can maneuver and look around there. You can't add anything to your cart until registration opens, but you can look at the classes electronically or through this PDF that we will email in the OLLI newsletter. Registration opens at 9 a.m. I will tell you that, as I said, classes sometimes book up very quickly, and you may get on right at 9 a.m. and the class that you want booked up in minutes. Don't panic. Come with an open mind, look at other options, get on a wait list if you want, but register for something. There, you will be pleasantly surprised by your second, third, fourth options. Don't log on before 9 a.m. It will not accept your your credentials, and you'll sit there and wait for an update. Log in like 9:01. And you can actually purchase your membership on beginning January 27th. So you could have all that out of the way. In fact, we encourage that so that when you log in on February 9th to register, you're not also thinking about, the type of membership and how to do that and checking out with your credit card. Have all that done in advance. Do that on the 27th. And then on the 9th, all you have to do is pick your classes. I'm going to let you go since we're 15 minutes past time, and you've been really generous with your time today. I'm so glad I had opportunity to meet all of you and answer some questions. Again, if something occurs to you after the fact, email that Ollie at northwestern.edu. Check out our website, register for the newsletter, complete your profile in the registration system, and email me if you have any questions. I'm happy to help.